Well, Taty, you are so beautiful. You're so glamorous and gorgeous inside and out. But someone being as physically attractive as you are, another person listening might think, well, of course she thinks that she can just get someone else. I mean, she looks so gorgeous. Who wouldn't want to date her?
No.
If a person feels like they're not beautiful or they're not able to get dates very easily, I think it might be difficult to feel like they can just leave because they may think, well, it's going to take another 5 years to get another date.
It is, it definitely is. And I know that, again, I have privilege in that way because it's like, well, I fit a lot of the beauty standards. And so I do have that crutch, and I think that's something that I think women need to address, because I think on Instagram and, society today, it's like, oh, just leave him and get another one. Just leave him and get another one. You know what I mean? And it'd be all these like IG models and stuff saying that. And it's like, well, look at your privilege though. You have all these men lusting after you all the time. Of course you're going to say something like that. And so I look at my privilege in that way as well. But I think there was a time when I didn't fit that standard, And so when I was younger, I we had switched schools and I was in an all-white school and I did not fit that beauty standard. It was the blonde hair, it was the blue eyes, and it was like me and maybe 5 other people of color in that whole school. And so, we were bullied for that, we were put down for that and whatever. And so I did feel that way in that time. And I was like, oh my gosh, let me just grab a man and hold on to him because I don't know when the next one is going to come, girl. Right. And I think as I grew out of that, I realized like I'd rather be alone than, be with someone who isn't worthy of my time. And so even if you think another man isn't going to come, know that you don't need him. I think it's letting go of the necessity for a man and letting go for the necessity of a partner. You are your best partner. And I say that now. I am still my best partner. My boyfriend is his best partner. You know what I'm saying? I just can try to be as close to that as possible. But I know what I need the best. I know what love I need. I can love myself better than anybody else. And if that man isn't at least getting close, you need to give it to yourself. You need to just love on yourself. It's that fear of being alone that I think holds a lot of women, because society makes us feel like if we're alone, we're less than. If you don't have a man, you're less than. Even on like Housewives and stuff like that, it'll be like, oh, but where's your ring though? You know what I mean? And it's like, if you don't have a ring, you're less than a woman. If you don't have a child, you're less than. If you don't have a family, and you're not. So if you look at the studies, like if we want to bring psychology into this, studies show that single women are the happiest at their end of life, right? And that married women are not. It's just true. It's true. Now I still want to get married. You know what I mean? And we're blessed to have men that make us fit a different statistic. Right. But typically that's not the statistic. We're anomalies in that way. And it's because we're so pressed to have a man and we're so pressed to settle. And it's like, girl, be alone. That's the truth. Man will come along, and we have to believe in that. I think it's a lack of belief. It's a lack of belief that there's someone out there like you. But again, if you can love somebody like that, someone can love you like that. And it's better to be alone until they come along than to give your love away, because you're taking it away from
your videos. I saw that you talked about your struggle with anxiety and how the past trauma that you've experienced, sometimes, some anxiety comes up, or you may even have a panic attack, right?
Yeah.
First of all, did you ever go to therapy to address the traumas that you've experienced?
I'm in therapy right now. Every Thursday at 12 o'clock, I am in therapy. I definitely, especially after the second diagnosis, I had to go to therapy. Like, it was like, hold on, girl. Like, at that point, I didn't know who I was anymore, because I think I had built an identity for myself around not being able to have kids, that when it came back, I'm like, who am I now? I had built this identity of this strong, independent woman that didn't need kids, didn't need a husband, and all this stuff. And now I'm like, well, now who am I? I keep building my identity around things that clearly can be taken away or changed. And so definitely went to therapy, definitely cried that out, definitely am still healing and still understanding that I need support along the way that is not biased from my boyfriend or my parents or my friends or myself, is an objective voice for me to help me and guide me through this journey. And so, yeah, I definitely went to therapy. I love therapy. I support therapy. Go to therapy. I love therapy, especially for our community. It's critical. And I know mental health is definitely not talked about, not celebrated, not supported a lot in the community. It definitely wasn't something talked about in my household a lot. And so I think our generation is changing that. And I think that's great. So,
it is great.
Therapy for everybody.
When a person has social anxiety, for example, or just anxiety that's crippling, and they want to date, that can be challenging because it's like when you go on a date, you're on this stage and you feel like you're having to perform for this person to choose you for the role, right? Do you have any tips for women who struggle with anxiety, dealing with the dating world, all that comes with it?
So I definitely struggled with that for a long time. The anxiety of, am I enough? Am I being too overbearing? Am I not being exciting enough? Do I look good enough? Do I not? All these thoughts in my head that almost ended up getting in my own way because I'm not just existing, as we're talking about. So I think for women that are struggling with anxiety and knowing that you are enough going into your dates, not overthinking the dates, is understanding the value of just existing, of understanding that the more you overthink it, the less you're in the moment. And honestly, the more you're going to miss in the partner. We're so worried about being chosen for the role. Is he worthy of the role? You're missing that. You're not just existing and looking at what red flags you might be missing in this person, what green flags you could be missing in this person. A lot of women after the date couldn't even tell you nothing about this man. They were so focused on everything that they looked like and said and did. You don't even know who's sitting in front of you. And so I think that ends up translating into relationships, that you have this relationship anxiety where you're just so focused on being the perfect girlfriend the whole time. We don't know if he's the perfect boyfriend right in front of you. And so if anything, honestly, especially because anxiety is fear-based and fear of the future, for women that are dealing with anxiety, it should be less so of the fear of not being enough and more so of the fear of choosing the wrong person. And I think that is it resonates with people who have anxiety because you're still fearful of something, but at least we're shifting it to something else. At least we're shifting the blame off of ourselves because that fear is often misplaced and it gets in the way of everything. And if at least we can shift it to, let me not be with the wrong person, eventually we can learn to exist and learn that the right person is just going to fall in our lap and we can eliminate the fear in total. But we got to move it first.
Yeah.
In order to move, because it's crippling when it's on yourself, you know?
You're right. You do have to move it. And one way that you can also move it is by doing things that release those fears, like journaling and praying and not putting all of it on you, you know, asking God to help you to see things that you may miss and to give you a feeling that you need if something is wrong or off. And sometimes too, like if you're too afraid that this may be the wrong person, maybe you got out of an abusive relationship and you're just so afraid that you're going to meet someone else because you're still not sure how you got into one in the first place, right? You may be so afraid and you're not even allowing someone in.
Right.
And so you have to shift the fear, but the fear does need to get removed as soon as possible. And you can do that through prayer and faith that you are being looked after and that you will be able to figure it out because it won't feel right to you.
I love that. I think I've done that myself, you know, in life where it's like, oh my God, this is the wrong person, this is the wrong person, wrong person. Because I was able to shift it, right? I was able to get it from, okay, you know what? I am enough. What if they're not? And I was so focused on that I ended up missing out on a lot of good times. You know what I mean? I ended up missing out on, even in my own relationship when we first started dating, I still had that fear, you know? And so it was like, I missed a lot of moments. I missed being present in the love that I was being given because I was stuck on that one now. And so eventually I had to remove that. But I think, you know, I first had to know that I was good enough. Then I had to know that the person in front of me may or may not be good enough, but it's not my job to dissect it and figure it out. You know, I think it's my job to exist. It's their job to exist. And if we coexist beautifully, great. If not, it'll fall apart on its own. And the next person will, you know, come in and that's fine. I think I have a lot of relationship anxiety about like trying to make it work. You know, I deal with that. And it's like, girl, just let it go. If it's going to work, it's going to work. If it's not, it's not. And that's life.
And eventually it will.
Yeah.
Eventually it will.
Exactly.